Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Dear friends, in the last class we were discussing the nature of avidya, and in that context Madhusudana Saraswati has refuted the definition of avidya by Sankhya. In the Sankhya philosophy, avidya or ajnana has been defined as succession of impressions of either illusion or doubt, brahma, samshaya, samskara parampara rupa. That means according to them it is a sequence. That means one after another there are so many impressions of that. So it is in the form of brahma samskara or avidya samskara parampara. That is a unending flow of brahma and samshaya. It is called ajnana. So that is their definition. But Madhusudana Saraswati finds a flaw in that. He says aparokshatvat. That means brahma and samshaya, these are aparoksha. That means they are not indirect and they are not direct also, they are immediate. And that kind of aparokshatva is the very nature of this brahma and samshaya. But when we apply this particular definition to all the instances, then we find a mistake or defect there, that what about the brahma and samshaya of past and future? Because aparoksha is a thing which is present. That means only a present thing can be aparoksha. And brahma and samshaya which have already occurred and which will be occurring in the future, so both these are not aparoksha. So that's why this particular definition of brahma and samshaya, so the avidya, cannot apply to these instances. That is the problem there. So therefore he says na brahma samshaya samskara parampara rupa aparokshatva, and atita anagatadi brahma samshaya parampara tat aparokshatvena vaktum ashakyatvat. So that is the defect pointed out by Madhusudana Saraswati. Second thing, avaranatmakatvat. That means avidya is of the nature of avarana. Avarana, that is concealing, hiding, or keeping away something from our vision. That is actually avarana. That is enveloping a particular thing so that we cannot have the vision of the reality. So it so happens that ignorance also hides something from our vision so that we don't get the vision of that particular object. That is ajnana. So he says ajnanasya avaranatmakatvat. Avaranatmaka, that means of the nature of a curtain, a veil, and it is the nature of this avidya, avaranatmakatvat. And we understand from the Advaita philosophy that ajnana or ignorance has two potencies. One is avarana, that means hiding something, covering something, that reality. And second is vikshepa, projecting some other thing. So in the example of mistaking a rope for a snake, also we find that because of a particular ignorance of the rope there, the rope is not known. This is one potency of the ajnana. But because of that particular resemblance, on the strength of previous samskara, impression, some other thing called snake is projected on that. So we find there something is hidden, some other thing is projected, and this is ajnana, avaranatmakatvat. And another thing, brahma adi upadanatvat. And we understand that this ignorance or avidya is the base or the material cause. Actually it generates this brahma or illusion. So when we apply this particular thing to all the instances of brahma, we find that basically illusion is created because of this ignorance. Ignorance is the cause of illusion. How? We understand, take the set example. When a rope is mistaken for a snake, here we understand that the ignorance of rope creates the snake there. Thus, ignorance is the cause of illusion. Brahma upadanatvat. Atmanah nirvikaratvat. And we understand that this self cannot be taken as the base of ajnana because Atmanah nirvikaratvat. Basically, the true nature, the self, cannot have any modification. Energy cannot have any modification. So here, Atma is nirvikara. That actually it applies to all the nature of any object. So it is nirvikara. And antahkaranadescha, can we take the internal sense organ as the base of ajnana? He says antahkaranadescha tajanyatvat. Basically, the antahkarana, in Advaita philosophy, antahkarana or internal sense organ is of four types: chitta, mana, buddhi, ahankara. But basically, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also tells us that all these are only names. There is only one manaha, sarvam manayeva. It says very clearly. Therefore, if we take antahkarana as one, that antahkarana too cannot be the base of ajnana because it is also a creation, a product of ajnana only. Because in Advaita philosophy we understand that the Shuddha Brahma, that means the pure consciousness or Brahman, cannot be the cause of anything. But when it is attached with ajnana or ignorance, ajnana upahita chaitanya, that means that particular consciousness in the proximity of ajnana becomes the cause of the entire universe. And in that particular state, that ajnana upahita chaitanya is called as Ishvara. And beyond that, it is only Brahma. So that is the difference between Brahma and Ishvara, or we can say Brahma and Brahma. That is the Chaturmukha Brahma. One is in neuter gender and other is in masculine gender. So this way also we can differentiate that the pure Brahman cannot be the cause of all the things, and the creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe is attributed to the Brahman. Therefore, the creation etc. are only the characteristics of Ajnana Upahita Chaitanya, not pure Shuddha Chaitanya. So, in that particular sequence, from this Ajnana Upahita Chaitanya only, all the other are created. The Sutratma, Hiranyagarbha, and on the other side Taijasa. So all these are created. These are only appellations. We understand from the Advaita philosophy that Sutratma, Hiranyagarbha, Prajna and Taijasa, Vaishwa, Vaishwanara. So these are all appellations. These are all only names given to that particular condition. And when all the conditions are removed, then there shines forth only that pure consciousness which is conditionless, and realizing that particular consciousness through meditation alone is the summum bonum of the entire Vedanta philosophy. Therefore, here it tells very clearly that Atma, it is nirvikara, therefore it cannot be the base of ajnana, and antahkarana too cannot be the base of ajnana because antahkarana is a creation, a product of this ajnana. Tajanyatvat. And okay, you say that even this antahkarana is a product of ajnana. What is the pramana there? Devatma shaktim swagunair nigudham iti gunavatva shrutescha mayantu prakritim vidyan mayinantu maheshwaram indro mayabhif pururupa iyate anrutena hi pratyudhaha niharena pravrutaha bhuyaschante vishwamaya nivrittihi ityadi shrutibhyascha maya avidya anirvacham anrutam tattvajnana nivartyancha ajnanameva swa para adhyase karanam. So he concludes this. He says, on the basis of several scriptural sentences, what are they? He is going to show Devatma Shaktim Swagunair Nigudham Anrute Pratyudhaha. So all on the basis of all these scriptural sentences, we understand that this Maya, Anruta, so that is the cause of this Adhyasa. That means Adhyasa or superimposition, projection of something, attribution, this is caused by avidya only. So this is the essence of this particular discussion here. And for that he quotes some sentences from Upanishad. He says, Devatma Shaktim Swagunair Nigudham. Devatma Shaktim Swagunair Nigudham. And this particular Maya or Avidya is Deva Atma Shakti. That means it is the very potency of Deva. Deva means here Lord. That means Kridanashilaha, Srushtyadi Kridanashilaha. That's what the commentator explains. That means one who rejoices with the creation of the universe, sustenance and dissolution of the universe. So that particular Lord, consciousness, that is Deva, and his Atma Shakti, that means the very efficacy of that particular Deva is Devatma Shakti, that is Maya, which is Swagunair Nigudham, and that particular potentiality is covered by the Guna, that means three Guna. These are the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So we look around in the creation of this Lord, and in this world we find that Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, these are throbbing and these are projecting some other thing before our eyes. So the color, smell, taste, everything in the universe, that is only a creation of this Maya. How we understand that this particular Rupa, that is color or appearance, is just because of the arrangement of atoms. And when sun rays reflect that particular form in our eyes, and the particular with particular frequency, when the rays get reflected in our retina, our brain records that and analyzes that as color. So the color is only a projection of this, and what we see before our eyes is only deceptive because it is only a particular reflection of sun rays. Similarly, take taste. And taste also, when a particular thing tastes good or bad, it depends on the protons, it depends on the atomic structure of that particular thing. So thus taste is also a particular coordination between the muscle called tongue and the particular object outside. So when there is particular reading between these two, it is called taste. Similarly, other things. Thus everything in the universe, because we being in the body try to enjoy the world or try to get connected with the world through these things only, five. What are they? They are Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Sparsha, Shabda. The five things that connect us with the external universe are only Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Sparsha, Shabda. So the entire world outside is in the form of Rupa, that means of a particular form, size, color, etc. Second, Rasa, of different tastes, Gandha, of different smell, and Sparsha, different touch, and Shabda, of sound. So these we understand, comprehend through our sense organs. There are five sensors in our body. There are five, like eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. The skin is the most sensitive sensor outside. But all these are called Jnanendriya. That means these are the sensors arranged by nature, that they respond to their relative qualities outside, and through them, when these responses through the senses reach our brain, because of our previous impressions, it analyzes all these impressions and it immediately responds to that. It says, oh, this is good Rupa, this is bad Rupa, this is Sugandha, this is Durgandha, this is good taste, this is not bad. So all this is created by the Triguna, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. That means the unequilibrium or inequilibrium of these three guna. So now, Devatma Shaktim Swagunair Nigudham. So this is one scriptural sentence which says that the true nature or potency of the Lord is hidden by the Maya. Then he says, Mayantu Prakritim Vidyan Mayinantu Maheshwaram. So the Shvetashvatara also very clearly says Maya is Prakriti. Prakriti is the creation around. It is Maya. That means Ya Ma. That is Ma Ya. So if you rearrange the two letters there, Ma Ya, it will become Ya Ma. That means Ya, that which is Ma, to be negated, that is Maya. That means the thing which is Badhya, the cognition which is to be negated later on, and the jnana which is simply discarded afterwards, it is called maya. That means it is temporarily presented to our sense organs, to our mind, to our buddhi, all that. So that is called maya, and which does not remain permanently. And here we understand, especially in the state of deep sleep, there is no maya at all, because the sense organs do not function there and the brain does not connect with the external world. So there is no maya, and that particular state is stated in the Vedanta also as our true nature, because there we are one. Sata tada sampanno bhavati swamapito bhavati swapiti chachakshate, etc. These mantras tell us that sata sampanno bhavati. That means the particular jiva, he becomes one with the reality, and that reality is the Brahman, and it is without any characteristics, without any qualities. So that is the mayantu prakritim vidyat. So the prime matrix, or the basic cause of the universe, that is prakriti, and it is maya. That's why in the Gaudapada Karika also we find a shloka, Adau antecha yan nasti vartamanepi tattatha. That means that which was not earlier and which will not be afterwards, but which shines forth only in between, that is called maya. And take for example the snake and rope. There the snake cognition is only temporary, because it was not before, it will not be later on, but at particular point of time it appears, and that appearance is called maya, and all appearances are therefore considered maya, and that is mayantu prakritim vidyat. So understand this entire creation as maya. Maya means not some illusion, not something, but here something to be discarded later on, that which is temporarily projected. Understand that, and it comes very close to modern physics also, that all the things that appear before our eyes are only the combination of atoms, and the atomic structure only that appeals to our eyes differently, our senses differently. Therefore it is only maya. That means it doesn't have any absolute value, or it doesn't have any absolute reality. So therefore one is maya, that means temporary appearance, and other is paramarthika, that is absolute consciousness. Mayantu prakritim vidyat mayinantu maheshwaram. But this creation is maya, of course, but to whom does it belong? Advaita Vedanta says, on the basis of Upanishads, it belongs to Maheshwara. That is, there is one supreme consciousness, Lord, supreme consciousness called Parameshwara, and this particular maya is only his potency. It belongs to him, because of his particular potency he can play like this. It can be understood with the example of a magician. A magician projects so many things, but he will not be under the influence of his own magic. He knows very clearly, very thoroughly that it is only a magic. But when he demonstrates something magical, then all the other people will be under the influence of that magic, excepting the magician. Similarly, God's creation is also so like that. All the jiva may be under the influence of that maya, but the Lord or consciousness that plays, and therefore it is beyond the influence of that maya. So that is the difference here. Indro maya bhiv pururupa iyate. So this is the scriptural sentence. One more. Indraha, in the entire Veda and Vedanta philosophy, we understand that Indra is the Shabda given to Parameshwar. That means Almighty. It is derived from the word Idi Parameshwarye. Therefore, Indra is not to be taken as a person in the Vedanta philosophy. He is not a person. He is not a person depicted in the Purana. But he is the Almighty, the superpower. And that Indra, the superpower Lord, Maya Bhihi, with several Maya. You can say the Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So these are all Maya of the Lord. Or you can say there are so many Jiva, and separate Maya will be there, and accordingly also you can justify the plural case of this particular word. So that Almighty, Pururupa Iyate, He manifests, or He goes, He pervades with His Maya. That is the essence of this. Indro Maya Bhiv Pururupa Iyate. How does He pervade? That consciousness, that energy, that manifests itself through the Maya in various forms. So actually the entire multifarious nature is only a manifestation of the Lord through His Maya. Thus, this particular manifestation is only Maya because it can be removed. It is only like the red color reflected in the crystal. When something red is placed near the crystal, for some time it will look red. But once the red object is removed, then that particular crystal will shine forth in its pure colorless form. Similarly here also, the entire nature with all its color, taste and all the other size, everything. So this is only a manifestation, and when all the conditions are removed, then the pure consciousness that will be realized, and that is the goal or target to be achieved in the Vedanta. Not only that, Anrutena hi pratyudhaha. Anruta means asatya or ignorance. Anrutena hi pratyudhaha. That means some falsity has covered everything. All the jiva, they are under the cover called ajnana. Anrutena hi pratyudhaha. That means it's very simple to understand that the crores of beings here, they are taken away by this false appearance. They are carried away, and thousands of lives, crores of lives, they just are wasted in this. Because the senses are extrovert, the external world naturally influences our brain through our senses, and because of that, several impressions are created, and there will be impression, and because of impression there will be jnana, and because of that particular cognition there will be again impression, and this vritti samskara chakram anisham avartate, says the Yoga Bhashya. That means our impression and the cognition, there will be a cycle, unending chain of these two. And what will happen means people will not be open to the reality, and they will not realize in their lifetime this particular reality called Brahman, that which is all pervading, and their intellect, the self is covered by this particular ignorance. Actually, ignorance is not that strong, but it is simple that even a small piece of cloud, when it comes between our eyes and the sun is very vast, very big, but if a piece of cloud comes between our vision and the sun, then we say that there is no sun at all. We cannot get the vision of the sun. Similarly, though ajnana is not that strong, if it covers our intellect, then we will not be able to understand the reality. We will not be able to get the true feeling of the reality. Anrutena hi pratyudhaha achaditaha, it says. And niharena pravrutaha. Nihara, that means the dew drops. Niharena pravrutaha, that means all the jiva, all the beings are covered under the influence of this particular ignorance, like dew drops. That means when there is fog everywhere, we cannot see beyond that. The fog actually covers our vision. We cannot see that. Similarly, the ajnana, like that fog, covers everything. Therefore, we are not able to understand the reality present in all the beings, whether they are trees, whether they are human beings, whether they are animals. In all these, there is atomic structure, there is going on the multiplication of that, and everything is going on just because of the particular consciousness, and because of our ignorance, we are unable to realize that Brahma consciousness. Bhuyas chante Vishwamaya nivrittihi. And one more thing is there. Bhuyascha ante Vishwamaya nivrittihi. That means at the end, once again, Vishwa Maya Nivrittihi, the cosmic illusion, that will be removed. And Ante, that is at the time of moksha. So this particular one will be removed and we will remain as pure consciousness. Till that, there will be several births, there will be several experiences, and for that experience we will have to take a birth once again. So this way, the cycle of births will continue. But once the Brahman is realized, this illusion will be removed and the particular jiva will remain as pure Brahman only. Bhuyascha ante Vishwamaya Nivrittihi. So this also explains that. And now, Ityadi Shrutibhyascha. So on the strength of these and several other scriptural sentences also, Maya, illusion you say, Avidya, that is ignorance, Anirvachyam, that is inexplicable, Anritam, that is unreal, Tattvajnana Nivartyam, that which is removed by Tattvajnana, by realization. So it is Ajnanameva, so that is called ignorance, Ajnana. So now with these words, Madhusudana Saraswati tries to explain the concept of Ajnana according to Advaita philosophy. He says, you call it with different names, but it is Ajnanam. That means not being able to know the reality. That is the thing there. So that particular impotency is differently called as Avidya, but it is not Vidya Abhava, it is different Vidya only. It is Avidya, nescience. It is Maya, that means only an illusion or magic. It is Anirvacham. So earlier he explained that very clearly, that it is Anirvacha. That means this particular Ajnana or Avidya cannot be designated, defined as either real or unreal. Therefore it is only Anirvacham and it is Anritam. It is false. It is only an appearance. And Tattvajnana Nivartyam. So it is the very definition of Mithyatva. Tattvajnana Nivartyam. That means that is called Mithya, which is removed later on by Tattvajnana. It is very simple. The cognition of snake is removed when snake is the rope is realized as rope. So thus Tattvajnana means understanding the rope as rope. That Tattvajnana Nivartya, that naturally removes the ignorance of that rope, and the projection called snake will also be removed. Thus Tattvajnana is the only way to get to the reality. That is when he says Tarati Shokam Atmavit, so that is the Tattvajnana there. Tattvajnana is understanding the thing in its true essence, and here the thing to be understood is only the Atman or the Brahman. Therefore realize that as it is, and that will remove all the ignorance. And that Ajnanameva Swapara Adhyase Karanam. And here we should understand that this particular Ajnana is the cause of Adhyasa. That means ignorance is the cause of illusion or projection. This is the basic thing of Advaita philosophy. Of what kind? Swa and Para. That means Swa Adhyase Karanam, Para Adhyase Karanam. That means that particular ignorance is cause of projection of its own and other things also. So two things are stated here. Swapara Adhyase Karanam. Now, when it is stated here that Avidya is the base of Adhyasa, one problem comes, Atmashraya Doshaha. That means there will be a defect called Atmashraya. That means self-dependence. If you say Avidya projects itself, it will be Atmashraya. It projects itself, is the Atmashraya. For it, it will depend on itself. That is self-dependence, and it is a defect. Now, Madhusudana Saraswati explains, Nacha Atmashrayatwadi Dosha Prasangaha. Such defects are out of question here. Why? Anaditvena tan nirasat. We had already explained that there will not be Atmashrayadi dosha, because Anaditvena, it's very important here. Anadi, that means beginningless. And in Advaita philosophy, 6 things are believed to be Anadi. They are clearly mentioned, that Ishvara, Avidya, Dvayoha Sambandha, etc. These are all Anadi, that means beginningless. We cannot exactly point out when Avidya has begun. See, for example, I have ignorance, but when did it begin? Not in the previous birth or in the previous birth. So this way, if I look back, I find that that particular Avidya should be understood as Anadi only. It is beginningless. And Anaditvena, because of this particular beginningless nature of ignorance, Tan Nirasat, that kind of logical defect is rejected. Anaditvena Utpatyabhavat, because whatever is beginningless, whatever is not created, that cannot have any destruction also. That means whatever is created has a destruction. Avidya is not created, therefore it cannot have any destruction. But Avidya is regarded as completely anirvachaniya, that is inexplicable, undescribable. Therefore, it has to be removed. By real knowledge, it is removed. This Avidya is removed, but it is beginningless. Swaprakashatmanah eva tad jnapti rupatvat. So there we have seen that in Utpatti and Jnapti, the Atmashraya dosha will not be there. And here, this is Jnapti. How? Swaprakasha Atmanah eva. Because this particular Atman is Swaprakasha. That means he is self-referent. Atma or self is not that kind of a thing which is to be illuminated, shown, referred by others. That means we do not require any other thing to understand ourselves. It is immediate to us. It is aparoksha to us. That's why the text says here, Swaprakasha Atmanah eva tad jnapti rupatvat tena ajnana adhyasa visishta chaitanye ahankara adhyasaha. Now, Madhusudana Saraswati comes back to the previous point, that is how Pramatritva is mentioned in the text. Pramatritva, according to Advaita philosophy. What is Pramata? Earlier he explained that Pramatritva, that means I getting that particular real knowledge of things. This is only an attributed one. That's what Vedanta philosophy says. Thus, I, because of my ignorance, activate my brain, activate my impressions, and they activate the senses, and through that I express myself. And thus, I become a pramata, or knowing the things around. Actually, in the true Advaita state, there will not be any prama, any pramata, because there will not be the triputi. There will not be the 3 things like jnata, jnaya, and jnana. The 3 things will not be there. And in pure Advaita state, since there is only one Brahman, there cannot be any other thing to know, any other thing to be known, any other thing as knowledge. So there, pramata is not out of question. In the pure state of Brahman, the pramatritva, the nature of knower, is out of question. There is no knowledge at all. And that Brahman is only pure consciousness. Tad jnapti rupatvat. And therefore, all these are only attributed on what? Tena ajnana adhyasa visishta chaitanya ahamkara adhyasa. That means all the beings, they attribute this aham to that particular chaitanya. Ahankare, that is adhyasa. Ahankara adhyasaha. That means this I feeling is attributed or projected on that particular consciousness, which is adhyasa visishta. That means it is endowed with ajnana, or you can say it is just attached with ajnana. That means because of our ignorance, we understand the Chaitanya not in its pure form, but as ahankara. So this ahankara is only a projected one, is only an attributed one, and therefore Pramatritva is also an attributed one, because without this ahankara there cannot be pramatritva. Without having this I cannot say I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, etc. I cannot say. So when this particular ahankara is an attributed or superimposed one, the product of that is also a superimposed one. And where is it superimposed on? It is superimposed on the consciousness. The only thing is not on the pure consciousness, because the pure consciousness cannot be pramata. But adhyasa visishta consciousness, that means that which is matter of superimposition, so that can be the base of ahankara. Tad visishte, that means in that particular superimposed consciousness, kama, sankalpa adinam, ahankara dharmanam, we attribute what? Actually, we attribute what not? Everything we attribute. Take for example the attributes of ahankara, ego, the self, ego there, kamaha, sankalpaha, vichikitsa, dhrutihi, adhrutihi, bhihi, hrihi, dhihi, and all these are all the qualities of antahkarana. They belong to the antahkarana, but they are attributed to the self. And that's why the Adhyasa Bhashya, the beginning of Sutra Bhashya by Shankara Bhagavad-pada, it says very clearly that because of this particular ignorance of reality, we attribute the qualities of one thing to another thing. We attribute the qualities of snake to the rope. That is the illusion there. Similarly, we attribute the qualities of inter sense organ, that is the intellect, or you say the mind, to the self. And because of that, what do we say? We get a desire and we attribute to the self and we say, I have the desire. We have a particular feeling, we attribute that to the self. So this way, everywhere we attribute the qualities or the properties of the internal sense organ to the consciousness. This is one. Second, Indriya dharmanancha kanatva badhiratva klibatvadinam. Not only the qualities of internal sense organ, but also of the senses we attribute to the self. That's why when a person has single eye, when a person is blind, when a person is deaf or lame, any other defect of that particular organ is attributed to the self. And thus the person identifies himself with that and says, I am blind, I am deaf, I am this, I am that. So these are all the result of superimposition. Thus says our Vedanta. Thus we understand from this particular paragraph that the qualities of intellect, the qualities of senses are only attributed to the self, but the self as I is different, is separate, is distinct from all these things. Therefore, don't attach. That means whatever are the qualities of the body, don't attach that to the self. Whatever are the qualities of the intellect, whatever are the fluctuations within and the thought waves, all these understand to be of the mind, not of the self. Therefore, separate them. This particular distinction, this particular discrimination should be there, and it is called Viveka, the proper discrimination of reality and unreality. And Madhusudana Saraswati is explaining on the basis of Adi Shankaracharya that all this is only superimposition. And Indriyanantu, what about the Indriya? Indriya are parokshatvat. They are paroksha. That means Indriya are always indirect. They are not direct. That means with my eye, I cannot see my eye. So that is the thing. That means the sense organ cannot get its own knowledge. They are all paroksha. Aparoksha dharmadhyasaha na. Therefore, the senses cannot superimpose something which is aparoksha, because they are all paroksha. That's why even if something is presented by the senses, directly obtained, but the senses cannot superimpose that which is indirect. that should be direct only. So iti siddhantaha. So this is the final theory of the Advaita philosophy, that adhyasa is superimposition, and that superimposition is of several types. That means sometimes the antahkarana dharma superimposition, sometimes the chitta dharma superimposition, indriya dharma superimposition. So this is all superimposition only, and the indriya cannot be the cause of some superimposition of aparoksha. They can only superimpose that which is pratyaksha. Nacha, and here we understand tad visishte, and further we understand the superimposition, that when the consciousness is attached with the adhyasa, then automatically there is, as a result, sthula deha adhyasaha. That means at the grosser level, we understand that the qualities of the body are also attributed to the self. Thus, Shankaracharya observes, thus Shankaracharya presents his philosophy that the entire world is functioning on the basis of adhyasa. We have bodies, and the bodies are of various kinds, and the qualities of bodies like sthula, krusha, etc., these are all attributed to the self, and people say, I am stout, I am thin, lean, etc. So Shankaracharya says the adhyasa begins from this. Now this is the sthula. Sthula means at the grosser level, and at the subtler level also we have adhyasa, imposition, projection, like indriya adhyasa, we have antahkarana adhyasa. So thus we understand from the grosser to the subtler that there is adhyasa only, and to the subtlest if we go, we have that particular superimposition, as the grosser body qualities are attributed or superimposed on the self, subtler qualities of the intellect are superimposed on the self. The entire universe in the form of impression is superimposed on the consciousness. It is only samskara, it is only an impression, he says. Dharma puraskareneya, that means because of, on the basis of that particular dharma, that particular characteristic or property, there is adhyasa. If there is no connecting, resembling dharma, there cannot be adhyasa at all. So aham manushyaha ityadyakaraha. So just because of that particular property, there is adhyasa. Because rope resembles a snake, there is the impression of snake and there is the cognition of snake. Similarly, everywhere we understand that the dharma adhyasa is very important, and this presents to us the theory of Advaita, that between these two, dharma adhyasa and dharma adhyasa is more acceptable, because even in the dharma adhyasa, at the subtler level, there is only the superimposition of qualities, properties, and that is dharma adhyasa. The entire thing cannot be superimposed on the other thing, and if we analyze it in a subtle manner, we understand that the qualities or properties of a particular thing are superimposed. Then aham manushyaha ityadyakaraha. Thus we have the feeling, I am a human being, I am a Brahmin, I am a teacher, I am a male, female. So this kind of superimposition is just because of this particular ignorance of the reality. Natu swarupataha, but by nature there is no such superimposition. So superimposition is because of those properties. Otherwise, by nature there cannot be any superimposition. Aham dehaha ityadi adhyasaha na. Otherwise there cannot be the superimposition as I am the body. So that is not there. Tadha pratiti abhavat, because that kind of comprehension or that kind of cognition is not present in the society also. Tad visishtecha, and further on that particular consciousness, further superimposed are the qualities of sthula deha. What are they? Staulyadinam. All the qualities like stoutness, leanness, etc. These are also attributed. Tad visishta bahyanam putra bharyadinam sakalya vaikalyadi dharmadhyasa. Further, at the grossest level, what can we find? What is the thing that is attributed on the on the consciousness? What is superimposed? Then we say that extremely external, the things outside are bharya, putra, sampatti, griha, etc. On these also people superimpose. How? Teshu sakaleshu vikaleshva. When something happens to them, when there is some harm to them, then the person attributes and understands that he is harmed. He has received that particular loss. So that way there is adhyasa. Shankaracharya says, Bhashyanam, the external things like putra bharyadinam, sakalya vaikalyadi dharmadhyasaha. That means when they are sakala, that means when they are perfect, person understands himself to be perfect. When they are harmed, he understands himself to be harmed. Evam chaitanyasya. So this way, that consciousness is taken as the object of superimposition. Ahankaradishu deha paryanteshu adhyasaha samsargataha. Now two things are there. On one side we have consciousness, on the other side we have all these, starting from the external things like bharya, putradi, second the deha dharma, third the antahkarana dharma. So all these are there. So on one side consciousness, on the other side all these. Now all these things are superimposed on the consciousness. Therefore a person mistakes himself, mistakes the pure energy within as his own property, his own people, his body, his mind, his intellect, his feelings. So what is the true nature of the self? Because people understand the body as self, the feelings as self, or my intellect, everything. So all this is only attributed one. That's what the Upanishadic philosophy wants to tell us, that if this is removed, then pure consciousness remains. But unfortunately, because of our so many impressions, we attribute these qualities to the self or consciousness. Not only that, on the contrary, on the other side, we attribute the consciousness to these also. That means we understand these as consciousness. So this is on the other side. And this is because of samsargataha. This is because of samsarga. Samsarga means contact. Because of that particular tadatmya sambandha. So on account of this particular very close resemblance, we naturally mistake something for the other thing. Adhyasa vyavadhana taratamyacha prema taratamyam. And now what about our attachment, our liking? Madhusudana Saraswati, on the basis of the Vartika, Sureshwaracharya Vartika, explains that adhyasa taratamya, therefore prema taratamya. That means on the basis of the particular quantity or intensity of that particular adhyasa, there is the variation in our attachment. That means our attachment varies according to the intensity of adhyasa. That means if on a particular thing there is more attachment, then there will be more this thing adhyasa. So it depends on that. So more attachment to a particular thing means more superimposition, and detachment means less superimposition. So this is the calculation there. Taduktam Vartika Amrute. So Vartikara says, Vittat putraf priyaf putrat pindaf pindat tathendriyam indriyebhyaf priyaf pranah pranad atma paraf priyaha. So it's a beautiful shloka describing the intensity of attachment. He says, Vittat putraha. The one's property is more external, it is outside. When you compare his attachment to his son is more than his attachment to his property. So when a particular situation comes when he has to decide between his property and son, naturally the person prefers to incline towards his son, and he will be ready to leave his property also. Thus, between these two, more than his property, a person is attached to his son, to his child, one thing. So, his superimposition on his child is more. Now, putrat pindaha, but when it comes to the case of his son or the child and his own body, between these two, what is dearer? Naturally, pindaha, that means his body will be dearer than his own child. That's why we find people running away in the times of calamity. They run away, especially when some fire accident takes place, when something takes place, they run away, forgetting about their own children, because everybody thinks of his own self. Thus, his body will be dearer than his child. Their attachment is more to his body than to his child. Now, pindat tatha indriyam, but when it comes between these two, that means his total body or one particular sense organ, their sense organ will be dearer. That's why when something is hurled at a person, he automatically closes his eyes. That means he is not bothered about his entire body, he is bothered about his own eyes. Thus, his attachment is more to his senses, not to the entire body. So thus it is separated. Now we understand the grade of attachment is increasing. Indriyebhyaha. What is beyond indriya? That means where do we find our attachment more than the senses? Indriyebhyaha param pranaha. That means our life is dearer than our senses. Pranat atma paraf priyaha. But when it comes between vital breath and the atma, the self is the dearest of all. That means everybody likes the self, and for that particular one, the entire creation is there. That's why the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also says that Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. That means everything one likes for oneself. I like something because it gives pleasure to me. I dislike something because it is not a matter of pleasure for me. So this way that varies, and this particular Vartikara has explained that the intensity of attachment depends on the intensity of superimposition. The more you superimpose, the more you are attached, and thus finally when we come to the self, it is also an attached one, a superimposed one, and when we remove that, we remain in the pure form as self. And now Madhusudana Saraswati explains the words here. Pinda means sthula sharira. Pindaha means in the shloka sthula sharira. That means the grosser physical one, that a gross body. Pranaha. What is pranaha? So in this particular shloka, you understand prana as antahkarana or the sense organ, not as vital breath. Deha apekshayacha indriyanam priyatvam. Naturally, between these two, between the body and the senses, naturally a person prefers senses. Shastra vrushtiyadi dhara pate. So naturally, when something is thrown at a person, the person closes his eyes. Anubhava siddham, and it is a matter of experience to everybody. Tena anyonya adhyasat chidachit grandhi rupaha adhyasaha. So here we conclude this, and we'll try to understand adhyasa in our next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.